October 16, 1962, the White House. President John F. Kennedy stares at a photograph. Grainy, black and white, taken from 70,000 feet above Cuba. Soviet nuclear missiles placed 90 miles from American territory. His generals demand immediate strikes, and his advisors are divided. One wrong move, and millions die. But Kennedy has an advantage. A classified file sits on his desk. Codename, IRONBARK. Soviet military secrets, stolen from Moscow by a traitor, a colonel who deceived his own country. The CIA calls him hero. His real name is Oleg Penkovsky. Who is this man? Why did he risk everything? July 1960, Moscow. Oleg Penkovsky, a Soviet colonel and GRU officer, makes his way across the Bolshoi-Moskvoretsky Bridge, having dedicated his adult life to the Soviet state, and today he is about to betray it. Penkovsky spots two young Americans on the bridge. They are students, tourists, completely unaware of what is about to happen. He approaches them. In his hand is a thick envelope filled with Soviet military secrets. He asks them to deliver it to the American embassy. Inside the envelope is an offer. Penkovsky wants to spy for the United States. The students take the package. They have no idea they are holding information that could change the course of history. The envelope reaches the CIA. Officers open it and find detailed intelligence about Soviet military operations. They also find a letter. Penkovsky writes that he wants to defect. He is prepared to risk everything to help the West. The CIA hesitates. This could be a trap. The Soviets are known for planting false defectors to feed misinformation. The American embassy in Moscow refuses to make contact. The risks are high. Penkovsky remains waiting as weeks turn into months, with no communication. So he tries again. This time he approaches British businessmen visiting Moscow. He hands them his business card. He asks them to pass it along to British intelligence. Perhaps MI6 will be more willing to listen. The card reaches London. MI6 takes notice. They contact the CIA. Both agencies agree this Soviet colonel might be the real thing, but they need a way to communicate with him. They find Greville Wynne. Wynne is a British businessman. He sells industrial equipment to companies across Eastern Europe. He travels frequently to the Soviet Union. His business provides perfect cover. In November 1960, MI6 recruits Wynne over lunch. They explain the mission. A high-ranking Soviet intelligence officer wants to share secrets with the West. Wynne becomes his contact, his courier, and his link to the outside world. Wynne agrees. 1 month later, he travels to Moscow on a business trip. He arranges a meeting with the State Committee for Science and Technology, and there, in a conference room filled with Soviet officials, he meets Oleg Penkovsky for the first time. The two men shake hands. They exchange pleasantries. To everyone else in the room, this appears to be a routine business introduction. Penkovsky has been waiting for this moment for months. He has Soviet military secrets that could reshape the entire Cold War. He has information about missile capabilities, launch sites, and strategic weaknesses. He has documents that prove Nikita Khrushchev has been lying to the world about Soviet military strength. The connection is made. The operation begins. But the question remains. What exactly does this Soviet colonel know? April 1961. London. Penkovsky arrives in London on official Soviet business. His Soviet handlers believe he is a loyal officer representing the motherland. They are wrong. Within hours of landing, he slips away to a hotel room. Inside, 4 men are waiting. 2 are CIA officers, 2 are MI6 agents. This is the first formal meeting between the Soviet colonel and his new Western handlers. Penkovsky brings a package. It is thick, heavy, stuffed with documents and rolls of film. He hands it over. He has photographs of classified military installations. He has organizational charts of the GRU, complete with names and positions. He has technical manuals that explain exactly how Soviet nuclear weapons operate, how they are transported, assembled, fueled, and launched. This is the most significant intelligence haul the West has ever received from inside the Soviet Union. But the most explosive revelation is strategic. Penkovsky tells his handlers that Nikita Khrushchev has been bluffing. The Soviet nuclear arsenal is far smaller than the Kremlin claims. Soviet intercontinental ballistic missiles are unreliable. Many fail during testing. The ones that work take hours to prepare for launch. The Soviet Union is simply incapable of winning a nuclear war against the United States. The CIA and MI6 officers listen carefully. They ask questions. They probe for inconsistencies. Penkovsky answers everything, and then he makes his requests. Penkovsky wants recognition. He wants to be honored by the West for his service. He asks his handlers for American and British military uniforms. He wants to try them on. He wants to be photographed wearing them. The request is strange, even troubling, but the handlers agree. They watch as Penkovsky poses proudly in the uniforms of Western intelligence officers. He asks for more: citizenship in the United States or Britain, a senior intelligence position after his defection, and the honor of being treated as a hero. And then he proposes something far more disturbing. Penkovsky suggests planting small nuclear devices around Moscow. He offers to hide them in garbage cans, in suitcases, in strategic locations throughout the Soviet capital. When the time is right, the West can detonate them and destroy the Soviet leadership in one strike. The handlers reject this immediately. The technology is impractical, they tell him. In truth, they are alarmed. This man is willing to incinerate his own city. Penkovsky is too valuable to dismiss. His intelligence is authentic, his access remarkable. Whatever his motives, the information he provides is pure gold. Over the next 18 months, Penkovsky photographs 5,500 classified Soviet documents. That amounts to 7,750 pages of top-secret military intelligence. He passes 111 rolls of Minox film to his handlers. The transcripts of his debriefings fill 200 pages. The CIA gives him the codename Hero. MI6 calls him Yoga. Both agencies agree he is the most important spy they have ever recruited inside the Soviet Union. Greville Wynne becomes his primary courier. Whenever Penkovsky travels abroad, to London, to Paris, he meets with Wynne and passes along new intelligence. When he is stuck in Moscow, he uses dead drops and secret signals to communicate. The West learns more about Soviet military capabilities than decades of satellite surveillance could provide. With every secret Penkovsky steals, the danger grows. Each meeting with Wynne draws him closer to discovery. Every photograph he takes may be his last. The CIA and MI6 know the clock is ticking. Sooner or later, the KGB will notice that secrets are leaking. Sooner or later, they will start looking for the source. And when they find him, Oleg Penkovsky will face the full wrath of the Soviet state. October 14, 1962. Cuba. An American U-2 spy plane flies high above the Caribbean island. The pilot is Major Richard Heiser. His mission is reconnaissance. His camera captures hundreds of photographs of the Cuban landscape below. When the film is developed, CIA analysts gather around the images. The photographs show construction sites, long cylindrical objects, transport vehicles, launch equipment. The analysts recognize the pattern immediately. The Soviet Union is installing nuclear missiles in Cuba, 90 miles from American soil. 2 days later, the photographs land on President John F. Kennedy's desk. His advisors crowd into the Oval Office. Soviet medium-range ballistic missiles can reach Washington, D.C. in 13 minutes. They can strike New York, Chicago, and most major American cities. Nikita Khrushchev has placed nuclear weapons at America's doorstep. Kennedy's military advisors push for immediate action. Airstrikes, an invasion, destroy the missiles before they become operational. But Kennedy hesitates. He needs more information. The answers come from a classified file on his desk, codename IRONBARK. This is Oleg Penkovsky's intelligence. CIA analysts pull out the documents Penkovsky photographed over the past 18 months. They find technical manuals for Soviet missiles, specifications, diagrams, operating procedures. They compare the manuals to the U-2 photographs. The match is exact. The missiles in Cuba are SS-4 medium-range ballistic missiles. Penkovsky's documents describe precisely how these weapons work, and they reveal something crucial. Soviet missiles are slow to deploy. They require extensive preparation before launch. Fueling alone takes several hours. The missiles are also immobile. Once positioned, they cannot be quickly relocated. This makes them vulnerable to attack. More importantly, Penkovsky's intelligence confirms what he told his handlers months earlier. The Soviet Union is bluffing. Their nuclear arsenal is weaker than Khrushchev claims. Their intercontinental missiles are unreliable. The Soviets are simply unprepared for a full-scale nuclear war. Kennedy now understands his position. He has time. The missiles in Cuba are dangerous, but they are not yet operational. He can negotiate from strength, knowing that Khrushchev cannot afford a direct confrontation. Kennedy rejects the military's call for immediate strikes. Instead, he announces a naval blockade of Cuba. American warships will intercept any Soviet vessels carrying weapons to the island. For the next 13 days, the world holds its breath. Soviet ships approach the blockade line. American destroyers prepare to intercept. In Moscow, Khrushchev weighs his options. In Washington, Kennedy and his advisors monitor every development. The tension is unbearable. One miscalculation could trigger nuclear war. Millions of lives hang in the balance. Throughout the crisis, Kennedy relies on Penkovsky's intelligence. Sidney Graybiel, head of the CIA's Guided Missile Division, later admits that when answering questions from the president, he draws primarily from the manuals Penkovsky photographed. These documents reveal exactly how the missiles operate in the field. CIA Chief Analyst Ray Klein later tells historians that Penkovsky's intelligence allows the agency to track Soviet missile emplacement in Cuba by the hour. Without this information, the Americans would be guessing. With it, they know exactly what they are facing. On October 28, 1962, Khrushchev agrees to withdraw Soviet missiles from Cuba. In exchange, Kennedy pledges that America will not invade the island. A secret agreement also removes American missiles from Turkey. The crisis ends. Nuclear war is averted. The world survives. Kennedy is celebrated globally for his calm leadership. By resisting immediate strikes, he lets diplomacy win and stands firm against Soviet weakness. October 22, 1962. Moscow. The same day President Kennedy addresses the American people about Soviet missiles in Cuba, KGB officers are climbing the stairs of an apartment building in Moscow. Their target is Oleg Penkovsky. The officers reach his door. They knock. Penkovsky opens it. He sees their faces and understands immediately. The game is over. The KGB searches his apartment. They find what they are looking for: a Minox camera, the exact miniature camera used by Western intelligence agents. Penkovsky is placed under arrest. He is taken to Lubyanka prison, the infamous headquarters of the KGB. The building has witnessed the interrogation and execution of countless Soviet enemies. Now it will host the most damaging traitor in Soviet history. But here is the disturbing truth. The KGB already knew. For months, Soviet intelligence had been watching Penkovsky. They tracked his movements. They monitored his contacts. They observed his meetings with Greville Wynne. They knew he was passing secrets to the West. The source of this information was an American. Jack Dunlap worked for the National Security Agency in Washington. He had access to highly classified intelligence, and he was selling it to the Soviets. Dunlap told the KGB about a mole inside Soviet military intelligence. He provided enough details for them to identify Penkovsky as a suspect. The KGB began building their case, but they faced a dilemma. If they arrested Penkovsky immediately, the Americans and British would know their own intelligence had been compromised. They would start hunting for the leak. Dunlap would be exposed, so the KGB waited. They let Penkovsky continue his espionage. They watched him photograph documents and pass film to his handlers. They gathered evidence for a trial that would humiliate the West. The timing of his arrest is calculated. Kennedy has just revealed the Cuban Missile Crisis to the world. International attention is focused on the Caribbean. The Soviets use this moment to strike. Inside Lubyanka, the interrogation begins. KGB officers question Penkovsky for weeks. Chief interrogator Alexander Zagvozden later reveals that Penkovsky is questioned perhaps 100 times. The sessions are relentless. The pressure is immense. Penkovsky breaks. He confesses everything. He provides names, dates, locations. He describes his recruitment, his meetings in London and Paris, his methods of communication. He reveals the full scope of his betrayal. The KGB now has what they need: a complete record of Western espionage operations against the Soviet Union. 1 week after Penkovsky's arrest, the KGB moves on his courier. Greville Wynne is in Budapest, Hungary. He is attending a trade fair, displaying British industrial goods. His MI6 handlers warned him to stay away from Soviet territory. The timing is too dangerous. Penkovsky has gone silent. Something is wrong. Wynne ignores the warning. He believes his cover is intact. He is just a businessman. October 29, 1962, Wynne walks down the steps of an exhibition hall. Four men suddenly appear. A car pulls up beside him. The men grab Wynne and shove him inside. Within hours, he is on a plane to Moscow. Wynne is taken to Lubyanka. He is placed in a cell near Penkovsky. The two men who risked everything together will now face Soviet justice together. Meanwhile, the Cuban Missile Crisis reaches its climax. October 28th, Khrushchev agrees to withdraw the missiles. Kennedy accepts the deal. The world steps back from the brink of nuclear annihilation. The crisis is over. But in the basement of Lubyanka prison, two men sit in their cells. They help save the world. They provided the intelligence that allowed Kennedy to outmaneuver Khrushchev. They risked their lives for peace. And now, the world cannot save them. Penkovsky knows what awaits him. Treason carries only one punishment in the Soviet Union. He has seen the evidence against him. He has confessed to his crimes. The verdict is already decided. The only question now is how he will die. May 7, 1963, Moscow. Penkovsky and Wynne stand together in a Soviet courtroom. The trial is broadcast across the nation. The outcome is already determined. Prosecutors present the evidence. 111 rolls of film, 5,500 classified documents, 7,650 pages of Soviet military secrets. The scale of Penkovsky's betrayal is staggering. The court portrays him as a vain and corrupt man, a traitor motivated by ego and greed. Soviet newspapers call him a monster who sold his motherland for Western approval. Penkovsky offers a full confession. He describes his recruitment, his handlers, his methods. He holds nothing back. Wynne testifies according to a prepared script. He claims MI6 deceived him. He says he had no idea what he was truly involved in. May 11, the court delivers its verdicts. Wynne receives 8 years, 3 in prison, 5 in a labor camp. Penkovsky receives death. 5 days later, on May 16, 1963, the sentence is carried out. Soviet officials announced that Penkovsky was executed by firing squad. But darker rumors spread. Some sources claim he was burned alive, strapped to a stretcher, and pushed into a crematorium furnace. The KGB allegedly filmed the execution as a warning to future traitors. The truth remains uncertain. What is certain is this: Oleg Penkovsky is dead at 44 years old. Greville Wynne survives. April 1964, he is exchanged for a Soviet spy named Codename. He returns to England a broken man. Depression and alcoholism follow him until his death in 1990. 2 men entered the Soviet intelligence game together. Only one came home.